Hey everyone, Duke here, and today we're going over the changes and a few tips for the master version of Warlord's Ruin. To start, there's a couple of differences throughout the entire dungeon. First, the master version is at 1840 power throughout the entire dungeon with a cap of 1820. This means that you're going to be forced to be a minimum of 20 power below the enemies at all times, but also means that as long as you are at 1820 power, you will be as effective as is possible for this dungeon. With power levels staying stagnant over the past few seasons, this means that you'll just need to get your artifact to plus 10 in order to be as strong as possible for this master dungeon. However, if you are still under the pinnacle cap of 1810, you may need to get a few extra artifact levels, or just deal with doing a bit less damage and taking more damage than you otherwise would. However, there's also a couple extra things you can do to even the playing field for yourself. First, I'd recommend 100 Resilience, with 100 Resilience giving you 30% damage reduction from everything, and it's just being a set and forget survivability tool, which is always key for high-end content. Along with Resilience, using chest piece resist mods like Concussive Dampener, Arc Resist for Taken Eyes, and Void Resist for the Chimera is going to give you even more survivability. Two additional mods I'd recommend in all build setups are Recuperation and Proximity Ward. Recuperation is going to give a significant chunk of your health back anytime you pick up an orb, and even with an overall nerf to orb generation this season, you'll still be able to make a decent amount of orbs between you and your teammates with things like Siphon mods, and Recuperation makes every orb into a instant health pack. Proximity Ward is one of my favorite mods in the game and feels like it is extremely underrated and under-talked about in my opinion. Being able to get a powerful overshield along with the iframes that finishers can bring you can get you out of so many sticky situations and makes any weak enemy a get out of jail free card, so to speak, in a similar way to what we just talked about with Recuperation. Don't forget that each encounter will also have a raid flag at the start too, so you can and should use the rally flag trick where you swap to a separate chest piece with reserves, rally, and then switch to your survival chest piece, giving you the best of both worlds with high survivability and more ammo. And especially in the second and third encounter, you can even do this mid-encounter if there's extra ammo drops where you switch back to that reserves chest piece, pick up an extra brick before you go to a damage phase, or maybe just after a damage phase in terms of the third encounter, and then switch back to your survivability chest piece. One other note on ammo is using the combination of Heavy Ammo Finder and Heavy Ammo Scout, especially when paired with an exotic primary like Sunshot. This will make it so that any time you create a finder brick, which has the little extra glow on it, you will additionally poop out a heavy brick for your two teammates guaranteed. The exotic primary inclusion just gives a lower amount of kills needed for each finder brick that you create. Now on the damage side, we want to try to make use of the current surges. There are always two damage bonus surges, which give any damage of that type a 25% damage bonus. Overcharged Weapons is also active, which means that any seasonal champion stun weapons will additionally get that 25% damage bonus, along with weapons that may be specified in a seasonal perk, with this season being the weapons listed in the Origin perk specialization artifact mods. Our first encounter, Wrathel, includes two unstoppable champions. One will spawn on the far left and far right corners of the encounter after each damage phase. These will always spawn in the next set of ad spawns, and these ad spawns are not always the most consistent timing-wise, especially when considering the forced timing of being teleported into the cages. Also, the randomness of where the Scorn lanterns spawn from the boss and when they spawn could be a factor in this encounter. Two notes I would make on Master, but technically in any run, is that it's okay to only get one lantern activated and take a shorter damage phase, and that it's also okay to just completely skip going for the lanterns for a phase in order to build up supers, or get ammo, or deal with an unstoppable champion that may still be up from the previous round that you couldn't take down before getting teleported. As for loadouts, my favorite option throughout the dungeon is Apex Predator with Reconstruction and Bait and Switch, especially with Solar Surge active, and pairing it with Sunshot to take advantage of many of the solar-specific mods for this season's artifact. Lament is also a solid option, which I would pair with a Zauli's Bane with Explosive Payload and Incandescent. I'd also recommend at least one, if not two, solar resist mods on your chest piece for this encounter, as the boss's gun shoots solar, as well as many of the other Scorn in this encounter outputting solar damage. The second encounter, Locus of Wailing Grief, will also have two unstoppable champions that spawn at the start of each phase, once again lining up perfectly for unstoppable hand cannon and the use of either Sunshot or Zauli's Bane. Do note that you don't have to run one of these two hand cannons, they are just by far my favorite options this season. After trying a few different things, I found this encounter to be a lot more chill if running as a full group of 3 on one side of the encounter. This will allow for both Unstoppables to make their way towards the entire group, allowing all 3 players to take them down together. Additionally, it makes taking down these Scorn mini-bosses and activating the lanterns super easy as well. Also, if anything does go wrong, you'll be right next to each other and can easily get reses. I'd recommend running as a team on the left side for just one reason, and that is the consistency of the lantern spawns. If you didn't already know, if you don't stagger or kill the Scorn mini-boss right away, it will automatically spawn a lantern after a few seconds, and then killing it will spawn a second one, allowing you to get 2 activations from one mini-boss. The right side can also do this, but it's less consistent on where it spawns and where it places the lantern, and even just spawns it completely off the map sometimes. After getting the first 2 lanterns activated, you don't actually have to dunk the fire orbs that will have spawned in the middle. Instead, I prefer to get another Scorn mini-boss to spawn right away, get 2 more lanterns activated, and then have all 4 orbs that you can dunk at once. This just makes things a little bit faster and safer due to having less rotations of having to run through the middle and dunk orbs. Note that these fire orbs will stay spawned in their pots infinitely until picked up, where you will then have 15 seconds to dunk it once you've picked it up. Also note that you can kill a few of the eyeballs that will have respawned in, so that there are less shooting you while going to dunk these orbs. Damage phase itself is no different than on normal, with rockets being my preferred option. Having one person on Dragon's Breath can be beneficial due to it heavily staggering this boss, which will keep it from getting close to you when damaging from each fire pit, allowing for easier damage without the worry of the boss being too close to shoot it. Our final boss, Heffend, has 2 overloads that spawn at the start of each floor, where the wizards normally do on normal. Do note that if for whatever reason you have to repeat a floor due to not doing enough damage, it will just spawn the normal wizards the second time. You'll definitely want to focus down these overloads first before doing anything in each section. Having one person on Overload Auto Rifle or Pulse Rifle is very useful. I don't feel like everyone on the team needs to be doing this or to be able to stun these overloads consistently with one of these primary options, but having and just throwing on Overload Rocket Launcher if running rockets can be helpful in a pinch. As mentioned earlier in the video, having the combination of Sunshot with Heavy Ammo Finder and Scout allows that player to make multiple heavy bricks per floor for both themselves and their teammates, but you can additionally add in a player on Aeons if needed for any of these encounters. I would also highly recommend Void Resist for this encounter, as Heffend's Blast can hit extremely hard. Also, having a way to survive while needing to stand in the open on the lanterns as they're activating, whether that be through invisibility, restoration, Banner of War healing, or just a straight up well or bubble is paramount. Note that throughout this encounter you can move at your own pace. If you want to stay back a platform to wait for supers, you can absolutely do that. Or if you need to go backwards a platform or 2 to get some extra heavy ammo before moving up to the next section, you can and should do that as well. And even just on shooting the eyeballs to spawn in the Scorn mini-bosses, you can and should wait on that to farm some more ammo, or again, wait on supers if needed. Your 2 main DPS options here are going to be rockets or linear fusion rifles, again prioritizing solar due to the solar surge, or if the surge is different in the future, of course move to prioritize that damage type due to the free extra 25% damage that you'll be getting. During damage phases themselves, don't be afraid to stop damage for a second to kill the scions that will be spawning in around you. This is a 2-fold benefit of making sure that they A, don't kill someone, or you, especially if you're not in a well, or having some form of healing active, while also making sure that no one accidentally blows themselves up if using rockets. I hope my guide to the master version of Warlord's Rune was helpful, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.